Fluter,
Yes.
Braverman,
Here.
Klein. Bilski,
Yes.
Duber.
Can I have a motion to approve the council meeting minutes of April 10th, 2019?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Does anybody have any comments? All right, if not, if you
Carey. Fluter,
Abstain.
Braverman,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Bilski,
Yes.
Duber.
Yes. The audience comments relating to agenda items only. Anyone? Old business ordinance 2019-10 and ordinance amending certain sections of chapter 1337 of the codified ordinances of Orange Village regarding sewage treatment system point of sale inspections. This is on for third reading. Would anybody like to make a motion? Thank you. Is there-
Second.
Thank you. Different than previously? On it? If not, if you call roll, please.
Carey. Yes. Fluter. Yes. Braverman,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Bilski,
Yes.
Duber.
Can I have a motion to pass ordinance 2019-11 and ordinance amending sections 1323.05 and 1331.09 of the codified ordinances of Orange Village to clarify the entry policy of the village's building department? This is on for third reading. Again, Steve, nothing new since last time?
Correct.
I'll make a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks. Any comments? Please.
Carey. Yes. Fluter,
Yes.
Braverman,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Bilski,
Yes.
Duber.
Moving on to new business, ordinance 2019-13, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the East Ohio Gas Company, doing business as Dominion Energy Ohio, establishing a restoration bond deposit for Dominion Energy, and declaring an emergency. This is on for first reading. Mayor, do you?
Let me
Or Steve.
comment on that. This is coming out of a request from East Ohio, Dominion East Ohio, that sometimes they have very, very small projects, connection issues in the right-of-way or that sort of thing, or little maintenance projects where their contractor is required to file a bond with the village to restore the right-of-way. Sometimes the amount of the bond that we require exceeds the amount of the project.
Oh.
And what this does is it establishes a blanket bond that can be held over time and cover all of their contractors. Checking with Bob McLaughlin, they have a terrific experience. We have never had to hit a Dominion East Ohio gas contractor's bond to restore the right-of-way. And this is something that we can put into place. It takes some of the pressure off the Treasury Department, the Finance Department, to record, you may recall, H funds. These would be H funds that we hold for a specific purpose. Every time we do one of these transactions for a Dominion East Ohio contractor, we got to log it in, we got to do this, and we got to, account for it at the end after the project has been completed and the. What's that?
Have we agreed on an amount?
This is in the amount of $10,000, which according,
Placed each as projects go along?
if there is ever a need for us to hit the bond to do a restoration for a contractor, there's a procedure in place by which we give notice to Dominion East Ohio, and they would replenish the bond. The other thing is, at the recommendation of Brian Mader, if there is a large project like a main line installation or replacement, we would require a larger bond for that project because there would be more potential risk on the restoration costs. And in that circumstance, the bond makes complete sense from a project standpoint to require that additional cost of that contractor. All of their contractors are registered, all of their contractors have insurance. That's not addressed by this, and they're registered with us for income tax purposes. This is just to take a little bit of the minutia of accounting for these things. It solves a problem that they have, and it solves a problem that it creates for us. I think, I mean, I'm not aware of them, anybody else that has done this. They didn't, I asked them if they had an example of what I was describing, and they didn't. So we're sort of innovating here, I think.
Is there a particular reason that this one contractor has been identified in this MOU that's being created?
Yes.
Okay?
And that reason is that they never did a bond. They did the work, and I can't recall, Bob McLaughlin isn't here. I think they pulled a permit, but never deposited the bond. I don't know the answer to that question. In the,
It's in the MOU under paragraph 11.
What difficulties are there that have been created? I guess I just don't understand.
the relationship between the restoration bond and the cost of the project, you know, we may require a $5,000 bond for a $2,500 connection project that they're doing. And every single one of these, every single time that they're in our right-of-way, we have to collect money, and then we have to return the money.
We
Which
do that?
What's that?
We do that?
We do that. Looking at Dana, she's nodding her head.
The council people feel the need to have Bob McLaughlin here to answer questions about this?
It wouldn't hurt.
At a future reading of the language, perhaps he could be here to clarify.
What's that?
Just on first reading.
Today? Yeah.
I don't have anything further.
Okay. Anybody have anything else on this? Moving on to ordinance 2019-14 and ordinance amending certain sections of the codified ordinances of Orange Village to prohibit the erection of barbed wire fences. This is on for first reading.
I have just a question about it. The title, way to phrase what this ordinance is about, it's more like and electrified fences, maybe, although it's addressing a lot of different issues about fences.
Well, the prohibition against electrified fences is already in the code, so we are not enacting anything by this proposal. The current prohibition against barbed wire fences is that they can't be adjacent to a public street or sidewalk. That is in the general offense code, and there is an exception.
Barbed wire,
Yeah.
6 feet, not less than 72 inches.
Right.
But we don't allow fences higher than 6 feet, so I don't know.
Well, and that's why, I mean, it doesn't make sense to have that provision in our general offense code. This is a land use regulation, it's a zoning code regulation. And so that's why you're just seeing us strike out from 52107 the prohibition plus the exception, or the regulation and the exception, and putting the prohibitions into the final development plan to cover all of the zoning districts except for U1 and U1A, and then putting a specific prohibition in the U1 and U1A districts.
Guys, we're not going to have any barbed wire in the village.
That's the idea.
Wait, so for utilities, is there a,
We do not accept those. If we put them in the zoning code, the Planning and Zoning Commission and Council would have the ability to grant a variance if there's a use that would require.
Doesn't the state define what those uses are?
No, not that I'm aware of.
The state, they
Prohibited?
allow it, they require it, like around electric transmission things.
Does this not allowed on private property?
Correct.
What's the, I guess I don't understand the point necessarily of this.
Well, it's no different than any of the other fences that we regulate that are on private property. It's just.
I understand
just
that.
prohibiting a certain type of fence that we really do not.
I get the actual language of it. I don't understand why we're making this policy. Is there something that is,
Yeah, but it
Cause
brought
this-
to my attention that there's some barbed wire on the fence between Orangewood and Beechmont, not that I've seen, but I understand it's there. And the notion of it so offended me that I have asked for this ordinance so that we don't have barbed wire in Orange Village. Now, if they have barbed wire, they can keep it because they have it there before we did this. But the notion that anyone in this village should need barbed wire for anything is offensive to me.
why is it, well, I'm not trying to argue, I'm just wondering, what's offensive about it?
I think barbed wire is an unattractive, unappealing look in an upscale, nice community. Particularly offensive where there's a lot of Jewish people.
Not to mention the safety of people that would come in contact with the barbed wire itself.
So isn't its purpose also, devil's advocate, for safety?
I'd like to believe that nobody in Orange Village needs barbed wire or electric fence to be safe.
Chief Costura,
Okay.
hi.
He loves barbed wire.
What's your position on barbed wire?
I haven't had anybody get hurt on it in Orange Village in the last 40 years.
40 years? Yeah. Is it a problem for police at all?
I could see how they would kind of bad between houses. I think that there's a purpose for it on certain structures. I think residentially it's very attractive.
But this doesn't allow it on, the way it was previously worded, doesn't allow it on public streets anyways, right?
And there's a section of the Ohio Revised Code there that deals with agriculture, and which is really not applicable here. There's a specific process by which people in agricultural districts and townships are required to put up fences.
But isn't it the same as Judd was saying of if somebody wants to put a fence in, that it has to get approved anyway? So if somebody, say if I had private property and I want to put up a barbed wire fence, I'd still have to go through planning and ask for.
No, just the building inspector.
Okay, just the building inspector? Okay, and they could tell me no, right?
Not if it's not outlawed.
But,
Well, we granted discretion to the building inspector to grant approval. Judd, check me on this. Grant approval for certain standard type of fences.
Correct.
Split rail fence, chain link
Cha-
back,
Right.
board, that's.
Yeah, anything that complies to the zoning code and the regulation of fences falls to the administration or the building and CBO as his discretion to grant a permit and approval.
You are correct. This would take it out of his discretion and prohibit it.
They could ask, they could still
Variance.
ask the commission.
They could ask for a variance, which would go through the commission and then council.
I think that's,
different than how we would do any other fence.
Right, any other fence wouldn't be a variance, it would come to planning and zoning. Right. Be handled then.
Correct. It would not be a prohibited fence the way this would handle it. And I'm
No,
thinking.
no, I'm saying previously,
Yes.
it would be handled the same way as every other fence.
Yeah, but honestly, I don't recall anyone ever asking to put a barbed wire fence up.
So then it goes back to the whole thing of the movie theater. What are we legislating for if there's not a problem?
I find barbed wire so offensive that I don't think there's anything wrong with prohibiting it, and if you don't think so, I mean, you know, it'll...
I'm asking legitimate questions.
Yeah, no, there's no
I just,
incident or story that...
I was just wondering why this is coming up, and I guess I'm wondering if there's been no incidents in 40 years, like, what's the...
I just learned we do have barbed wire.
I understand that. Okay. I'm loud and clear.
Have.
Okay. Any other comments on this?
That barbed wire is grandfathered in? Then this makes, nobody else would really, I don't think would come and want to do this.
Hope not.
You mean Beachmont?
Am I getting the feeling that perhaps we're over-legislating this? Maybe, is that what you're thinking, Brandon? I don't know.
My own opinion is, right this moment, is I don't necessarily see a need for it when there's not any problem and there's barely any in the village, and I think this legislates it the way it's previously written, legislates it fine. So I guess under that circumstance, I would say yes.
But I don't think barbed wire is a very good look.
Well, I know, but you can't see it the way that,
Come to us before they put it up.
well, I understand, but the way that it's previously included in this, it's not really a look because you can't see it, because it's already not allowed to be erected or maintained on an area that abuts or is adjacent to any public street or sidewalk.
Well, that's silly, because you're not even allowed to put up a fence adjacent to a public street or sidewalk, any kind of fence.
Okay. Well,
Oh, you can put,
They've got to weigh back in if they can just prove to somebody that it's the appropriate thing to do, namely the commission.
well, if we,
The thing is not to have barbed wire.
that's your opinion.
Right, that's my opinion.
Okay.
don't have the regulation, then we're going to, imagine, if you will, someone does come in and wants, there's no way that we can come back afterwards and write it then and exclude them. I think we're better off, now that we're aware of it, that we do have some of this in the village and we really don't want to have it, then we're better off putting a piece of legislation on the books that says no, and if you really are adamant about it and have some real valid reason for needing barbed wire fence, then you come and ask for a variance and seek a variance.
The commission does know about this. We discussed it.
Yeah, we discussed it at the last planning commission meeting.
That's fine. I have my opinion. Everybody? All right. Any other comments? Moving on. Moving on to ordinance 2019-15, ordinance amending subsection A913.04, tap-in fees for sanitary sewer Phase 1 of the codified ordinances of Orange Village, and ratifying tap-in fees that have been paid in accordance with ordinance number 1993-12. This is on for first reading.
So we'll have a vivid recollection of the Miles Road.
Romano and Romanos.
Need that. Back,
We didn't agree then, and we don't agree now.
you may not specifically remember that there were two schedules appended to the ordinance, Schedule A and Schedule B, that set payment schedules from 1993 through 2012, for 20 years. And that within those schedules was an implied interest rate. Well, 2012 has come and gone, and now somebody still wants to tap in to the Miles Road sewer. And we don't have anything that has been legislated that establishes the tap-in fee. The 20-year was based on the bonds that we would be repaying. And that's come and gone, they're paid off, but we are still permitted to recoup our cost, our investment in the Miles Road sewer.
Through the date on which we paid them off, and we're no longer being charged.
But we have a deficit in terms of what has been collected versus what was paid.
Okay.
And so this is not going to be for a lot of people. There is a specific person requesting to tap in on Brainerd Road now, and she was requesting the authority by which we were setting a number for her. There had been an administrative action taken where the implied interest rate from the schedule was being applied administratively, and people were agreeing to pay that.
The interest rate was only legislated for up until 2012?
There was no interest rate stated in the legislation or in the schedule.
Or after?
The schedule set forth 20 years worth of bump-ups in cost based on that interest rate,
Stop.
and then stopped.
In 2012?
Correct. And I don't think we've had many requests since 2012. We just happen to have one now.
Yeah. So are we gonna extrapolate up or just?
What the solution for this is we identify what that interest rate is and put it in the ordinance. So you'll see there is a equivalent unit calculation, and there is a pump station unit calculation. And that's integrated with the rest of the code in terms of who has to pay what. For residential, you just pay one equivalent and one pump station unit.
But there was a continuous bump up from 2012 until the present time.
This ordinance picks that up. This ordinance picks that up, and it does it in the same manner. The bump up was supposed to occur in April and October of each year.
Yeah.
So this incorporates the formula, so the finance department can put together an administrative schedule based upon the formula for the next 20 years if they want to. But this allows the legislative authority to be in place without having to legislate another schedule that'll go bad in 20 years.
We're obligated to do it then, aren't we?
I think it's the right thing to do.
And it doesn't affect many people, like how many, do you know, just out of interest?
About, I don't know, 6, 8 houses over there that have the sewer line in front of them, and some of them have already tied in.
Yeah. It's anybody who's not yet tied in.
Okay.
Who wants the benefit, that's all.
Well, and anyone that comes along further down the road, that we don't know now.
Right, and frankly, there may be, I don't know of any place on Miles Road that would tap in.
Yeah, there is.
Oh,
I
okay.
just referred a developer to that today.
Okay. There's a property just east of the freeway.
Oh,
Or just west.
To do this,
Just east.
have we failed to do this or some other tap-in?
No, nobody really has.
And the other tap-in fees you may remember that we've done are for the water line tap-in.
yeah.
And in the water line tap-in situations, we've done a similar type of calculation, breaking down the cost.
The only other tap-in we have is Brainerd Road, and if they owe anything, they owe it to the water department.
If you have a,
Oh, a water line.
yes, we did, when we closed out the village, there, yeah. So you put the formula in the ordinance, you don't have to worry about your schedule.
Thank you.
Person need to have this passed before,
It would be nice, right?
but you want it passed next
You
week?
could pass it next week, tonight.
I think if you pass it next week, that, we're kind of expecting that would be sufficient.
Well, I guess what they're looking for is some type of certainty as to what the cost is, and
Have we shared the draft of the legislation with the person?
Question. There was a deficit in sewer fees, or is it only the water line tap?
It's a tap-in fee for the sewer. And
We used to have a problem before I came on council as a deficit. Was it for the sewer and water line, or just?
for the sewer line.
It was for the sewer line.
Tap-in project that was done on Miles Road.
So this recalculation is not taking that into account. That's not carried into this.
Well, you will be able to restore the funds. I don't know if you recall, but you were around, the infrastructure levy was used to cover the Miles Road sewer. This will allow, and it's not a great deal of money, but some money will flow back to the 406.
Where we took money out of funds. What really saved it, if you recall, when the sewer tap-in went in, I was mayor, it went in, and it was, we had the debt, but we would only have revenue to cover the debt when somebody developed something and tapped in, and nobody was doing that. So we were owing all this money on something that we weren't getting reimbursed for. So, for the president at the time, we negotiated a settlement with Lakes of Orange. They didn't owe us a penny.
Okay.
And they saved our general fund. So, to about a couple $100,000 only.
Yeah, but the purpose is to make it up here.
Invade our general fund. but they paid early.
About that.
That's what it was. So to the extent we get any type of money back, it was the 406, because that made up the deficiency.
Hey, Mayor.
Unusual in any community
Microphone.
for sewer.
That picks it up. Okay. Just a...
To do it, I mean, there's no alternative, really.
That's all I have.
All right. Mayor, any other comments on that? Anyone? Do audience comments relating to matters which advance the village. And committee reports and comments by council members. Ms. Berry.
And the garden is shaping up for a new year, as I mentioned last month, and we had our first meeting, and several people came. That's all I have.
I just wanted to mention this incident that occurred in California in Poway, where the Chabad temple was shot at. People were killed. In any event, they're having an event tomorrow night. The Chabad community is having an event tomorrow night at 7:30. If anyone's interested in going, they can ask me maybe after.
One in Solon?
No, it happens to be right over here on Chagrin. Could let me know.
In Chagrin.
Thank you. Mr. Bilski.
First off, it's been very nice driving around the village and seeing orange stickers on a lot of front doors.
Yeah.
If you've all been noticing that, and as of today, I understand we have 224 people signed up, or households, for the Do Not Knock registry, which I think is great.
Yeah.
Scott.
Nice feedback. I want to bring back my discussion from last month about the survey and find out, and talk more about getting the ball rolling with that. I've spoken with a number of residents who have ideas and concerns and comments, good, bad, and otherwise. And I wanted to bring that back up and find out what we can do to get the ball rolling. Because I can very easily find some Orange residents who are not up here to help with the process. I've spent a lot of time over the last month reading through this 200-page survey from last go-around, and I wanted to talk to all of you about it and see what you're thinking.
In favor of, forming a committee for that, if you would like to chair something.
I'd be happy to.
But obviously in conjunction with the administration.
Administration would like to do the survey, but not before the fall. We don't want to start it now. We have our hands full with a number of things, and we're happy to do it, but we would like to start in the fall, or the, end of this year.
Because?
There's a limit to how many things the administration can juggle at a time, and we have an awful lot on our plate right now.
This would be a committee made up of a number of us here and other residents. It doesn't need to fall on the administration.
We've done it 3 times before. We're happy to do it again, but we can't start the summer.
Do we use like an outside agency to do the? And what kind of stuff does that agency do?
No.
County planning?
The last time we used Cuyahoga Planning, we used Impact Group once, and we used, I think we used the Planning Commission the first time. So
So what's the role of Cuyahoga Planning then in this process?
They designed the survey. Of course, the committee went over every question. We told them what we wanted to get out of it. We met at every step along the way. We interviewed a few places. It wasn't just the Planning Commission that does it. Other places do it. So we interviewed a few places. We chose the Planning Commission. We probably had, 6, 7, I don't remember how many meetings. Do you remember, Anna, how many? Ron Barron was on the committee. We met a bunch of times and went over the questions. Maybe, I don't know, Bob or Chris remember how many times. And then we sent out mailers to everybody to let them know it was coming. Then we notified them again it was coming. Then they mailed it out. They receive it to tally the answers, and then they created that report that Scott's looking at. I'm happy to do it again. We're just not doing it this summer.
I don't see what the harm is in forming a committee and doing the legwork. I mean, I'm not talking about starting to actually send something out today or tomorrow. From what I've read through this, the 1999 one was the basis of 2007, which was the basis of 2014, which would presumably be the basis of 2019.
That's why you don't really, I mean, I don't know that we're going to do anything different. I mean, we just need to update the questions that are still relevant, like we won't ask questions about the trails, and we won't ask
But
questions.
weren't those like kind of the big items, the big ticket items from my recollection were things like the playground, which is
Right, running water at the park,
Okay,
the playgrounds, the trails, Pinecrest,
lighting on the streets.
Yeah.
and
I don't think lighting on the streets had a big,
That was one of the big sections here for,
did not want it.
right, but that
Someone else's street.
was discussed in the survey, and that was fleshed out. Right.
But my point is also that a lot of the big ticket items, which was sort of the purpose of redoing the survey,
No, that was never the purpose. The purpose was never to find out how to spend money, because we know.
no, it's not how to spend money. It's, I mean, I think one of the big
We
things
wanted to find out about the trails and water.
was the trails was a large part of it. And check, we're done.
And as part of,
I think there's other things that are on the horizon coming up that I'd like to have included in the survey, but I have to talk about it some more with the engineer. But I think there's some topics we need to revisit in the next couple of years that should be in the survey. There's things in the survey that don't need to be. Of course, you want to mimic that one, so then you can have something to compare it to. But the big ticket items that are in there, there's still more, and we've started creating, all the department heads have given me a list of the things that they know are still out there. I don't usually do this, but to the credit of finance and the administration over the years, we've always had a list of things to do, but we've only tackled them as we can each year, so that every year there's no deficit. So we have, and I'm going to prepare this and give it to you, I have it by departments, but I wanted to collate it and make sense of it. We have a long list of things that you probably aren't aware of, that we want you to be aware of, that are on the list that we tackle as we can. For example, the restrooms one. Okay, cameras for the park. We should have more security cameras around the park.
Put barbed wire. Sorry.
for another couple of weeks.
The baseball field upgrades. We need a new police garage. I mean, there's 6 pages of things that I want to share with all of you, but
So can I just interject real quick to Scott's point is that, for example, when I first joined council, I said, hey, let's do these trails. And you say, it'd be a great idea. Let's see if we can do it. Everything takes a long time.
Hear what I have to say next.
Discussion my first day of council, and now we're halfway through construction and I'm midway through my 7th year. So I think that
That's too.
what Scott's saying, we should start meeting and getting the ideas and figure out, you say that we have a list of things that we're tackling, yeah, but I think we have to be looking even beyond that list to see what's next after that, because if we wait till everything's accomplished, then it's going to be 7 years before, we start tackling new things, and I don't think there's anything wrong with having this.
yeah, no question. But I mean, this is a list that's going to take us a long time to go through, but maybe there's other things.
That's not necessarily, right, that's not necessarily what the current residents want.
Well, I don't know that it's up to the residents to decide whether we need security in the park.
Not up to, our residents have to weigh in how we're spending their tax dollars. And my point in all of this is, in 5 years, a lot has changed here, both in terms of who are residents of the community, Pinecrest, and we don't have the specifics, but we are projecting that we're going to have potential significant excess dollars because of Pinecrest tax revenues, which is a positive. And
For a while, but,
We have union negotiations this year.
And be careful with that one.
If I recall, the last time we did this, Mayor, you spearheaded this, if I recall.
Done the others.
We got it going.
Done all 3.
So I am a little bit, sort of not sure why you're dragging your feet. I mean, you're telling me, but you're not telling me?
Do everything at one time. I'm a part-time person. We have the trails, we have the renovation project. We have a bunch of things we're working on now, and I'm working on, and some of it we're going to talk about in a little while. It's another project we need to take a breather and get ready to go. A lot of manpower to do these things.
If he's willing to spearhead this now and bring in people to start the process, what would be wrong with that?
Nothing.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Can I weigh in on this, as long as everybody's taking a shot at goal here? I really think that having a committee to start an investigation of looking at the question that we want to frame for the future of Orange Village, and what those questions might be and where they might want to lead to, is something that a committee could formulate and work together on, and then bring to the administration and figure out how might we ask these questions, who's going to do it, how they're going to be framed in a way that we can really focus what we're trying to get out of it, instead of just asking a bunch of questions and of our residents. I think this activity goes to the vision, the strategy, and the image of our community, and what are those things might want to look like. And some of them are projects, and some of them are other things. And to that point, we need to have that discussion with a group of people, interested people, who can share ideas and suggest things, because you never know what's going to come out of left field that might be worth looking at. And then the administration can have an activity that takes this ball and runs it up the field. So if Scott formulates a committee, invites a group of people to participate in it, identifies that group of people and leads them on this,
By the time he's done with that, I'll be ready to do
they'll
it.
be ready to do it. So,
To your point.
Let me make sure I understand what we're talking about here. The mayor is suggesting that you have, I haven't seen whatever this list is, but these are things that you and the department heads and a variety of our,
And from the survey, yeah.
huh?
Yeah, and from the survey. It's just an accumulation of things we know about.
I'm just saying, this is the list of things that somebody has decided collectively or individually need to be done in the village. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Now that, I'm perfectly willing to sit down, and have done it 3 times, to sit down with the community and listen to their ideas. But to be honest with you, if their ideas don't conform with this list, I'm interested in the list of things that have to be done before I'm going to go to a list.
Well, I don't know if that's a list of have-to-bes. I think that's more of like a wish list and wannabes versus have-to-bes, and
Different higher priorities.
Of course.
I'm sure there's some variation there, but I guess what I'm saying is I look out over the vast number of people who are in this room, and it sounds to me, maybe I'm wrong, it sounds to me like the mayor is saying that these people have come up with working with her and us, have come up with a list of things that probably need to be done sooner or later in this village. That's an important list to me. Now, all those who aren't in the room who want to come forward and respond to the survey, and we have done that 3 times, and we've taken them very seriously. But I don't want to get into a situation where we have this list competing with each other.
that's what it's doing. I think what the survey would do is it would take new ideas with the old ideas and kind of mesh them together, and maybe you have a reprioritization of what you do first, what you do last, what you don't do at all, based on changed times.
On what? That's what I'm asking.
Based on changed times, based on 5 years, based on, a big difference in Orange in that we have trails, we have Pinecrest. I mean, those are 2 pretty big things that have changed. And maybe there's different needs, different wants, different demands. And, there's more development, there's new developments, there's new,
Is this list, Mayor, a list of old things? I don't know what that means exactly.
I don't know what you mean by old things, or things that haven't been done yet.
Yeah, that's different than things that are passé.
I'm not saying passé.
Well, you sounded like you were saying.
No, listen to me. Well, 5 years ago, these ideas, a lot of these ideas came up, and we're still working on them. That doesn't mean they're stale. It just might not mean that it's the same priority as some other new ideas. I don't know why this is an argument. I don't know why this is...
Problem with the idea. I'm concerned that once you get 2 lists, now you're going to...
But I don't know where we're getting this idea of 2 lists.
We're not getting 2 lists.
It's a survey to make one, it's to put everything together and just get
tooth at some point.
of what the people in this room and the people not in this room would like out of their community.
I just thought of something, and this isn't what I was thinking of, but why do we want to do another survey when they already said 97 point something % that the services were good or excellent? I know, we don't want to see that number goes down, but, you know.
I don't think it's a ratings game.
Huh?
When your child's an all-A student, you don't get sick of seeing another all-A report card that they continue doing a good job.
Bravo.
Number one. Number two, Mrs. Kluter has talked about trying to survey our seniors to see what services they desire.
Very nice.
Prime opportunity to reach out to our citizens to see how do they feel they're maybe being underserved, what is their wish list of what they would like to do, and things, I mean, as Mr. Klein said, you never know what's going to come out of here until you ask, and if we get the ball rolling now on a committee, by the time the committee is ready to come up with some questions and things, it'll be every bit of the fall. Nothing's going to happen, but there's no reason to delay the formulation of a committee and getting the ball rolling on this.
By the way, Francis, we do have a study that I participated in, I don't know how many years ago, Aging in Place. It was done under the Orange Recreation, and representatives from each community came and we did a study on helping seniors age in place, and we have the results of it, and some of it's referenced on that.
Well, I'm going to talk about that briefly when I have my turn, but it's just brief.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we set up a committee, and maybe we discuss it more at the next meeting, and we'll kind of get the organization of it going, and, you know, it's something that you would chair.
I'd be happy to.
We'll set up a committee, and we can start getting ideas flowing, because there's nothing wrong with that, and we'll go from there. Is that amenable? Everybody okay with that? All right, kumbaya. Anything else?
That'll do it.
Comments?
Well, first of all, it's been now a little over a week or so since Ron was laid to rest. And again, I think it's important that we acknowledge him in council. I think it would be appropriate for us to draft a resolution for his wife and children to recognize his service, his work for the community in some way, if we haven't already thought about doing just that. I know there have been a number of conversations on different ways of memorializing Ron, and I think the mayor has something she'll say about that in a few minutes. But I did want to just make note of the fact that he was such an integral part of our group here at the dais. He's going to be a very difficult person to replace, and I know we have to act upon that. And I know Brandon is going to probably focus on that a little bit. But I did want to bring that up, first of all. Second of all, the new fire truck is really cool. And congratulations on bringing home the new baby. And hopefully we can all go take a look at our new child later.
Wednesday, 7 o'clock. For you to see.
And the other thing I wanted to talk about is, you know, I've expressed interest in community economic development. The mayor has asked me to represent Orange Village tomorrow at a county-wide economic development summit, I guess it is, or meeting at Magnet. And I'm going to be attending that. I've had some discussions with the mayor about some of the things that we might want to think about doing. Now that we have a significant amount of commercial property in the community that we really need to be proactive about and not just reactive to, as many communities are, we have to develop a strategy for doing so, and something that we need to think about. Initially, the mayor has some ideas on how we're going to move forward to start that kind of another investigation, if you will, that focuses on an inventory of the businesses in the community that are already here and what their interests and needs are, because we can address those things. And finally, Planning Commission met 2 weeks ago. We did have a brief discussion about the barbed wire fence, and I think there was commonality that it is something that we probably don't really want to encourage in the community in some way, and we're better off, if you will, closing the barn door before the horse gets out. It's much easier to deal with than than trying to figure it out afterwards or scrambling afterwards. So that discussion will continue on in this body relative to this ordinance that's been created. And, oh, the other thing I wanted to say, my wife and I were, as we were driving home, she was looking on the Northeast Ohio Education website and noticed that the Orange schools have been upgraded, and they are now 6th in Northeast Ohio, 6 spots ahead of Beechwood. The number 1 school is Solon, who would have guessed? Number 2 is Aurora. I think Chagrin Falls is in the top 10. I think of Bay Village and Avon are in those as well. And so it's, I think the schools are doing something good over there, that they've managed to move up the ladder and continuing to improve, and I'm glad to see that happening. So that's all I got, and I will hand the ball off to my colleague, Mrs. Kluter.
Thank you. I found it very humbling, to know that Ron died. In my 32 years of service to this community, it's the first time I've lost a council colleague, and I found that very sad, but also very grateful that every one of us up here showed up. And it was packed. It was just packed, and I thought, that has to be a wonderful feeling for the family, however sad they were, however overwrought they were, that we got, they got the support of his colleagues on this board. So for that, I'm grateful. Seniors and bringing out in and out of trash, and I've heard different things. I think the mayor, you told me it would take a long time. I think you told me this last week or the week before. It would take a long time before we could do this.
I don't think I said it will take a long time. I said it will take some time. We have to think it through.
That's what I thought you said.
Getting information from other communities.
I'm not sure what that all means. In my heart, I don't think it's going to represent a lot of people. If I was doing safety, and I did, well, if I was doing safety and I did it for 10 years, that would be one of the safety issues. I don't think we can throw it out specifically to state regulations. I really don't think it's a lot of people. I was going to ask if we could put it in a newsletter and see how many people it would involve and what it would actually entail. And
we have to decide, do we want to do it just for over 80-year-olds? I mean,
well, I don't know. It started because I read it in the Beechwood Buzz, or Beechwood something.
About $40,000 a year to get that service for their residents.
For a handful of people?
For however many they have.
Who's doing that? That's what Beechwood, but ours would not be as expensive, I'm sure not. I don't think so.
Well,
But
that's why it's going to take some time. We have to think what we're willing to offer, and we have to find out what people need.
But we need to, I think too, we need to get the ball rolling. I think it's really sad that people who've lived in this community for 60 years or maybe longer, and we are the community for all generations, are not going to be included in this. It's sort of in the foreseeable future. And if I was on safety, I would then argue that what if those elderly people who are trying very hard to drag out their trash cans and their garbage cans in the dead of winter slip, fall, and potentially break a hip or worse, and then we've got our services that we have to call on. So let's be, proactive with that. This only came to mind because I read about it in Beechwood, and I thought, well, that's not a bad idea. And then people were calling me. So I'm throwing it out. I don't want it to be thrown under the rug and say, yeah, we'll get to it sometime. No, I don't think that's right. I think it's most unfair.
I did reach out to the Orange Scout Troop. I haven't got an answer back from them.
But it's a variable. You can't rely on those kids to do it every single Monday, whenever it is. You can't. And I think we have to examine it. And it could be a survey question, put it in a newsletter, but let's do something rather than nothing.
Information. Nothing's been thrown under the rug.
Where are we, who's gathering the information? What does that mean exactly? Explain that to me.
Okay. The communities were asked, besides snow plowing in the winter, does your community offer services to senior citizens, handicapped, disabled residents? If so, what services do you provide? Is there a fee or criteria they have to meet in order to receive this service? In particular, we are looking to see if any community offers a service where they take the trash cans to the curb for pickup and bring the empty containers back to their garage. So,
Do you have that spreadsheet that you can send to everybody?
let us finish it,
Oh.
and then we'll share everything.
Okay.
And
What-
she did the same thing about the snow plowing thing that we were going to
Right.
talk about too.
So when do you think you'll have the rest? When do you think you'll?
What is today?
Wednesday.
Probably by Friday. I sent out a blast, I'm waiting for people to send me, so I didn't get
So
everything.
maybe by the next council meeting, we can.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Send out the results of that.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, I do want council and council president to know that effective next Tuesday, I will be out of town. I will be in Alaska, so
Lovely spot,
You're going anywhere?
lovely spot.
we have a new restaurant coming to town. They haven't officially done the application yet, but we've met with them. They say they're coming, and its name is BJ's Brew House.
Oh, yeah, somebody told me about that. I heard that.
They're representatives. They have an option for the land in the Chagrin Highlands. Apparently, there's a couple in the area, Akron, North Olmsted, and Mentor.
Where are they? Where would they be?
Chagrin Highlands?
Highlands? Are they Chagrin Highlands? Where?
The Cooper's Hawk, yeah.
Okay.
Chagrin Highlands, right. Got a letter, dear Mayor and City Council members, thank you so much for the fruit arrangement. It was so nice of you all. I know my father enjoyed working with you all so much. He loved the meeting, the challenges, seeing Pinecrest built, etc. I thank you all for bringing such pleasure and passion to my father. Thank you for all the support. Ashley Fisher. This has been really cool to get. I've had a couple phone calls and emails, and I don't usually get so many. I'll read this email from a longtime resident of the village. Dear Mayor Mulcahy, late this afternoon, I rode my bike up and down Brainerd Road between Emery and Miles almost, and for the first time did not feel as if my life was in grave danger. The new trail running along the west side of Brainerd is a wonderful gift to our community, and from what I have seen is already getting lots of use. It's hard to imagine how much the entire network will be used and how greatly it will improve the quality of life in Orange Village. Many thanks to you for your part in making this trail a reality. Please pass on my gratitude to everyone involved.
Isn't that nice?
Who's that from?
Who signed that?
Do you know Dean Myers on Hidden Valley? He's a longtime resident.
Anonymous.
I knew Sue Ellen Andrews likes it.
Daughter called me. Oh, my God, was she happy. Okay, which is fun. That's really nice. Next week, I will be out of town, and so will Chief Kostura. So, Chief Kostura, you're going to have Mike ask for the car next week? Can I have Chris come up and tell you what's going to be asked of you next week?
Right. I'm going to be recommending that we do one more market police car. There's a lot of things that have been going on. We've been very busy, particularly on day shift. We do some things with the market police cars now we haven't done in the past in reference to what everyone said about San Diego, and Pittsburgh, and we're a little more active recently with these incidents that are occurring, and I don't have enough marked police cars to, I think, officially do what we need to do.
We do have $40,000 in the budget for police cars. That was originally intended to be the 1/5 down payment, so every year we would put it aside, but we have enough years to make up for that. We can put aside a little bit more for the next couple of years to make up for that.
Is that just for the car and then all the equipment for it?
About $34,000.
Yes, we'll be in the area of 35,000.
Fully equipped with everything?
Not everything,
Okay.
the vast majority.
Staff sufficient to,
The cars are at work.
That's tactical, and I don't,
Okay.
we don't want some things to go out. So, there's, yeah. But it's necessary, because particularly on day shift, we have a lot of things happening, and unfortunately,
is,
If they want to-
when, obviously I don't want to get into anything like that you don't want to talk about, but in terms of busier, is there like more crime because of Pinecrest going on?
No, it's not necessarily Pinecrest. We have a lot of activity in those hotels. It's not it's Orange Place itself. You know, there's a lot of things happening up there. A lot of those you guys go up there in the evening. I can't get over it. Those hotels are filled every night. Every one of those hotels there, and there's 8 more on the other side of the freeway. I don't understand. It must be the location. The village's location to be. Is there anything?
I mean, are these hotels nuisances, some of them? I mean, is there anything to do
Yes.
about a hotel that is a nuisance, honestly?
We've been at this point.
We actually had this one time in the past, and made it clear to one of the hotels that we were no longer taking had additional counsel, and somehow they changed their ways just in time. What we have going right now is not necessarily, that was the fault of that establishment. They had reason that they could make it better, and they did. The other places, I don't know how much they're at fault. Sometimes it's hard to tell, but they're very, very busy with, there's a lot of activity. I mean, but it's not just us, but a lot of these hotels, there's prostitution. I mean, no question about it, I'm sure, each and every day in our hotels.
I mean, obviously, some of it's knowing. Is there anything to do about that, Steve, with establishments that are allowing prostitution that, I mean, because it's ridiculous that our costs are going up and all this, and our police department is busier because of,
You would have to establish a pattern of crimes in the same establishment.
don't we have that?
Well, no,
Ish.
because of the social media now, when we were going after the other place, they were complicit. With social media now, the only reason they're complicit is because they're a hotel. So some of this stuff, they have no control over. I'm not saying that they couldn't cooperate more with us when they know that there's something not right, but they all happen, so it's not one place. But with social media, it makes it a lot easier for people to peddle their wares. But I'm gonna be asking for this card sometime later. Hopefully, yeah, Robert's will be here next week to answer any questions.
Thank you.
And also,
So next week, we will have a new fireman sworn in. Something else I asked you to put on the agenda, now I don't remember what it was. Okay, that's all.
So when is Dave Hart done?
Well, he's moving to Chicago the middle of June, but he's still available. CT extended his contract for another year. He'd like to continue helping us. I don't want to start anything new with him. I want to find somebody local. Steve's working on an RFP so that I can interview people. He did talk to Steve about your sidewalk question.
He's working on that now.
So
So
I had
when
asked,
is that?
okay, because I'd asked to see if Dave could come into council either this meeting or next meeting. And I'd like to do it before he's gone.
Work session in June.
Oh, he'll be gone.
He's gonna be gone. That's why I was,
Come next week or the first week in June.
That's what I said, the work session in June.
Oh,
The work session in June
Yeah,
would
he'll still be
be
here.
a good time.
well, if he'll still be here and he's not
Yes.
packing up boxes,
but I told,
Well, Brian Mater,
if
what,
he can come next.
Brian Mater what you wanted, and he was.
Well, that's not what I wanted. It's a, yeah, I mean, it's a thought
No, he
of,
thought it was a really, the engineer thought that was a really good idea.
so, but I think it would be good to have
I will ask
Dave
Dave
come in.
Hart if he can be here next week for the work session.
Okay, all right.
Well, give him enough time to finish his thoughts. Didn't he tell you where he's at on it?
Yes. He's working on it.
But, yeah, but even just to like have a little
I think
Q and
the
A.
work session in June, he will have a written product by then and can probably attend, I don't know.
Okay.
his
But if he's
availability.
not available for the work session in June, can we see if he will be available next week?
He may not have work product at that point.
I'm not asking, I'm just, so I could say, hey, Dave, this is like a thought I have. What do you think about it?
I will
Like
ask
something
him.
like that. All right.
and also I want to give you this, Brandon, this is one of the last times when we sent out a postcard for a request for council.
Oh, yeah. So, and that's what I was going to discuss. Obviously, we need to replace Mr. Barron's seat on council. With,
Oh, I forgot there was one. I'm so sorry.
go ahead.
I'm so sorry.
Here it is.
State Representative Juanita Brent introduced a bill to commemorate former councilmen. The bill would rename portion of I-271 the Ronald H. Barron Memorial Highway. So today she introduced a bill that would do that, and she goes on to say, Councilman Barron had key influence in the development of the Pinecrest shopping area in Orange. It was his brainchild, and it has had a positive, lasting impact on our community, said State Rep. Brent. Okay, and then the rest is what you know. Ronald Barron served on the Orange Village Council for 5 years after a successful career as a consultant for various businesses and medical organizations. He formerly served as chairman of the Medication Safety Committee at Metro Health prior to his election. As the mayor of Orange Village, I've worked with quite a few council people over the years. Some have been good, some have been great, but Ron was exceptional, said Orange Mayor Kathy Mulcahy. Ron was the ultimate team player who contributed in a huge way. Barron died in April 2019. He was married to his wife Lori and was the father of Allison Barron and Ashley Fisher, and the grandfather of Gabe Sonderman, Phoebe Sonderman, and Spencer Fisher. He was 72. The proposal currently awaits an official bill number and committee assignment before its initial hearings in the Ohio House. I think it's being introduced this week, and it will pass.
It's got a lot of sponsors on it, too.
Very nice.
I think that's really all now, and I'm sorry.
You have more? Speak up. So going back to Mr. Barron's vacancy, the seat, as you all may be aware, we have 45 days from the next regularly scheduled council meeting for council to appoint somebody to that vacancy who will then be up for election in November for the remaining 2 years. So we have to go ahead and typically we've done this a few times, and we will send out where do we send this? We'd send out basically an ad, and that for people to submit a resume and a letter of interest to the clerk of council, Anna, and then we'll set up interviews, and we will interview everybody. Best thing to probably do, and maybe we kind of talk about scheduling now, is to do it on another night other than a council night. It take a little bit. And so if you guys have your calendars, why don't we just do this now? And so if we're going to be public, when do you think we'll get published?
But so,
Postcard, so I have to have it made up printed up somewhere, so we're talking.
that EDU stuff, how fast can we get that mail?
That we could get mailed quickly, but it doesn't guarantee that they can send it out right away. But I would say a week and a half before
Out.
it'll go out, and then it usually goes out like the next day or so.
Are we allowed
2
to,
weeks.
are we able to send it out electronically as well?
We can, but that's not hitting everybody.
Right, but I'm,
We should probably do it. We should probably do it in e-blast just for maybe a separate one. Then should we do separate than just a regular, newsletter.
No, I thought.
No, that's a postcard.
I know, but I'm saying if we're gonna do an e-blast.
Oh, we can do it in the next one.
And we could do it
Oh, you mean
separate, we could put it
separate?
on the
We could do one that's
website, we
separate,
could put it
just
on the Facebook page, so it gets out.
and what is our circulation there for how many residents or households are signed up? Do we know?
I think it was like in the 380s.
Facebook?
No,
No, the
signed up for
e-news.
e-news. And I'd have to double check that.
Then again, that's all of us.
It's not as good as you would hope.
So if we can get it out within a week and a half,
Say 2 weeks.
so by the 15th, and then people submit,
There's a deadline in the mailing?
One in that one?
what's that?
Yeah, there's a deadline.
From the date of the mailing, how long do they have to get their,
This one was dated April 15th, and they had till May 10th.
so,
Interviews were going to be held May 15th, so that was a month after it was.
Why don't we get it
Mailed
to the end
out.
of the month and then do middle of June too?
We could do that. Oh, so I know.
45 days from next week.
So
And if you're late, I won't.
June 23rd would be 45 days?
Ooh, that's cutting it fine.
We don't have a council.
If you don't make 45 days, I appoint, but I won't. Give all the time you need.
The 17th.
I was gonna say the 17th, or we can even do maybe the week of the 10th, if anybody.
I'm out of town most of that week.
We're looking at June,
Is everybody around the week of the 17th?
of June?
17th, yes.
You gonna do it on Wednesday?
I don't know. Is that good for, is that week work for?
Monday, June the 17th, Monday?
No, it's a Friday, actually, or no, I'm looking at May, I'm sorry, wrong month.
June the 17th, Monday?
Yeah, we don't have to do it on a Wednesday, and maybe we start earlier than this, obviously.
Monday, and start early, 6?
How many you get to?
Right, but I'm fine with Monday, the 17th.
Yep.
Is every,
That's, I think, the only night I'm available that week, so, yeah, Monday the 17th.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep, yep.
are you guys both good? Sure? Okay.
What time are you thinking, Brandon?
6, I was going to say, 6 o'clock?
And it depends on how many people sign up.
Yeah, but we could still, but we could still start it early.
If you want to,
Block it out and figure out the time when we see how many we have, or
6, 5:30?
You have, your work schedule is,
Work at 4, so I can be here as early as 5.
okay.
I'd have a tough time getting here before 6, probably.
I mean, 6 too early, you wanna do 6:30?
We block out the time and see how many we have. Also, I mean, if we have, 5 or 6, it's gonna take longer than if we have 2.
Why don't we just, so if we can't, why don't we just tentatively schedule like 6 o'clock till sleepy time? for-
I mean, we're lucky. It could have been 1,200.
Let's do the end of, when can you get it out, did you say? You can get it, out. Well, no, you'd have to do past the 31st. I think we could do till maybe the 5th, maybe they have till the 5th or so of June to apply,
Be determined.
to 3 weeks. Is that sufficient? do
Yeah,
you
that's
think?
plenty.
That's plenty.
That's plenty of time.
And then that's plenty of time to.
Those of us who have not, I guess just me, who haven't been through this process,
It's lovely.
do you distribute then their resumes or applications to?
You had, yes,
Yes, we'll all have it, and then we,
and that sends it to us.
and then we sit down and interview everybody.
Yeah, 6 to 10, maybe.
Okay. Whatever it takes.
Well,
You can do it any way you want, but
And your
we
supper.
did it one way, there was once when I was president that we did this, and we did it differently than they had done it before. So we'll figure that out. But, all right, so the 17th, and I guess if there's anybody who can't do that date for an interview, we can maybe try to figure something out on a council date or something.
backup date?
What's that?
Father's Day weekend.
Hopefully they'll have recovered from those crazy celebrations.
Always trying to promote fathers whenever.
You want to book black out another night just in case there's an overflow?
Yeah, I mean, is there any other night that week, just in case we need to do a,
19th, the Wednesday?
I mean, if necessary, what about the 24th, the following Monday? If
That's after the 45
I'm not available that night.
you're not, okay, 18th, no?
The 18th and the 20th, and the 19th, maybe, I'm not sure yet.
19th, you're not sure?
Nope.
Okay, so why don't we'll deal with the problem if we have a problem, how's that?
We'll just leave it at 17 for now.
17th for now. I'm gonna put it on my calendar before I forget.
Will that be
If-
advertised on that postcard?
Is there a way, I guess this is a
Bring
question for
supper.
Steve more than anyone else. Let's say we are inundated with
Oh, yeah,
applications.
oh, yeah.
Is there any way in which we can filter them before interviewing?
Do you wanna do that?
No,
By filter.
I mean, you could go through the resumes and,
Like creating a short list?
no, you have to look at everybody who applies. No, you have to look at everybody who applies and you shortlist it from that
I
list.
do that for like my office, but I don't know if it's
No, not for
appropriate
council, no.
No.
necessarily.
If you were gonna do that, and I assume you weren't delegating to somebody to make that cut list, you'd wanna hold a meeting to establish who was going to go.
No.
Interview. I don't think that has ever been a problem in prior vacancies.
Never, we've had, no.
At a manageable number of people.
I think 10 was the most that I recall.
we've had a lot.
This was the winner. This has never been the same.
applying, which
Is
is
that the Apple Card?
be a resident for so
Everybody's
many
got
years.
Paris Fresh off of the Lacto. I know you don't.
No, if it does say that, because I remember we had
you're-
people last time who applied that weren't.
There. Also went through that process, but there weren't as many candidates.
Oh, yeah, 2 continuous years?
Yeah, that's all you need.
Okay, before. Okay.
They got to run for the next part, and then they run again.
Not stipulated in there, but it's
That's really kind.
That's a minimum requirement.
What, that we only need to have a brain to do our job? That's cool. Okay. Anything else, anyone? Okay. All right, I think that's all my comments. So can I have a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing possible land acquisition of real property and inviting Bob Zugan into that meeting?
So moved.
Second,
Thank you.
Getting quiet night tonight.
On that, Anna, please.
have a lot to do.
Harry? Luder? Braverman? Klein?
Yes.
Bilski?
Yes.
Duber?
Yes. We just talked.